And we're live. Welcome back to Strongman Personal Finance. I have my guest here today, Jack Bogle's son. That's literally his son. He had a son when he was 75 years old, apparently. And then we have the famous Jay Nagy. Please subscribe to their freaking channels, okay? All you clowns come and watch, and then nobody subscribes. I've been doing this crap for a year, and I only have, 200-something subscribers? I should be getting paid by now. This is BS. So subscribe to our channels. Thank you. Anyway.
Yeah, subscribe so I can leave my job.
Yeah, you were telling me about that, Jay. Sounds like a winner right there.
I'm not like a violent dude. It's just one of those things. Everybody would have had this impulse. But this guy was just talking to me. Oh, wrong, as Christopher Walken would say. And I'm just looking at him. I'm like, is this dude serious? Because I know if we weren't at work, he would never talk to me like that. And so I'm just sitting there and I'm like, I don't have to be here. You know what I mean? I'm just sitting there. I'm like, I can go fuck off and go to the beach, dude. You're stuck here.
Jay, I would never talk to you like that. I just want you to know that.
Well, you're bigger and stronger than me. And it's the saying that I always say to people. I say there's men in this world that can force me to eat crow, and there's men who can't. And he's not a dude outside of work, but I just have to play it smart, man. I'm too old to be just going like, hey, dude, why don't you stop being a dick at work to the guy or whatever.
Yeah, you know what's cool about this is we represent like 3 different decades because you're in your early 20s?
Yeah, I just turned, or not just turned, but I'm 23 now.
23. I'm 31, and this old ass is 55?
Yeah, 55.
Wait, Chris, I'm curious. How much do you what's your powerlifting total? Like, how much do you bench and squat and all that?
I don't power lift. Like, I don't even max out. So like I rep like maybe 235, 245, maybe like 6-7 times. My squat's embarrassingly weak, so I'm not going to talk about that. But
wait,
yeah,
like
I don't power lift. What's up?
On the bench, like 230, 235?
Yeah, so I can rep that. I would bet you my 1 rep max is probably like 300, but I actually hurt my elbow recently, so I haven't lifted in like 2 weeks. I've just been running every day, which is a pain in the butt.
Yeah, well, I haven't been to a gym in several months because the whole Canadian economy has been shut down for almost a year now.
Is it still shut down? Like, y'all still are completely locked down?
100% locked down. No one goes anywhere. You know, you can't even like go to the park and like, you know, play with like your children there or anything like that. Well, I mean, you can, like, no one's really going to stop you, but like they just generally don't want people to do that. And then obviously gyms aren't open. They basically just want people to stay inside.
I mean, haven't you been vaccinated though?
Well, it's like, I think it's people who are like 40 now can get vaccinated. I can't get vaccinated. It's really weird. Like, there's all these loopholes you can get, and like, you know, the whole vaccine rollout has been taking forever. So there's this like Facebook group called Vaccine Hunters that has appeared, which is literally just like a group of volunteers that, you know, tries to find information like, you know, through the grapevine or whatever, somehow about, you know, some like place that has vaccines that they can give out, and then they post it on Facebook, and then people go there. So they're actually like helping it. But it's still taking forever.
Dude, you contrast that with Florida. I'm like, you don't even have to wear a mask here.
Dude, yeah. I was so pissed. So when I went I went to Florida for my honeymoon in June 2020. And that was like the 2 weeks that freaking Florida was locked down. So I couldn't go to, like, I was in Orlando. I couldn't go to any of the bars. The only thing I could do was go to like this resort and like hang out at the pool there. And there was nobody there, and it freaking rained. So I was pissed. And then, of course, probably as soon as I left, they opened everything up. So I missed all the dancing and partying.
Yeah, dude, they're savages down here, man. They don't give a fuck. Good luck trying to tell people in Florida, hey, you're gonna be locked down for a year. They'd be like, yeah, okay, why don't you try and enforce that?
Yeah. But are there like deaths though? Because like the thing is with like where I live in Ontario, like Ontario still has like every day like 3,000, 4,000 new cases of COVID. So that's why they're locked down. Like back in the summer, it was only like a few hundred a day.
Florida barely has more than California, like in the per capita range, and it might actually be less. The lockdowns are stupid. Rogan's talked about it ad nauseum. The virus dies in sunlight. It's bro science, but that's an actual fact. And when you're having people sit around inside not getting vitamin D, I can understand if a place is like no indoor dining, there's only outdoor dining, but the parks are open, you have to wear them. Those are perfectly reasonable things, but locking people in their homes over a disease that has a 99.97% survival rate. Oh, what about all the deaths? Well, they're overcounted and the number of cases are undercounted. And it doesn't take a genius to actually understand that. So it's like, I don't know what we're doing here. People have to work, and you're young. You're not really at risk.
Yeah.
Go to that would be my thing if I was in charge. If you're in an at-risk group, shelter in place, if you're young and healthy, go back to work.
Yeah, I mean, I think it should be a choice, but obviously, I don't know. I mean, it's gonna in like a few months, it'll in all likelihood start coming to an end. So hopefully, like it actually stays on schedule, and like I should be able to get vaccinated pretty soon, which will be nice because then just, if I'm out somewhere, like if I go and see my girlfriend, I don't have to deal with all the people shunning me for that because I'm not staying inside my entire life.
Who shuns you? Does somebody actually shun you if you go out and see your girlfriend? Who? Is it your parents?
Well, no, not them because they don't really care that much. I mean, basically, like any kind of like acquaintance you have that just feels the need to tell you. You
don't need those people in your lives because they're straight little bitches.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty like off social media now, so all that type of stuff I don't like. Well, I say that and I do YouTube, but like I'm not on Facebook or like Twitter or Instagram or anything like that, really.
You're not on Insta? You're a loser.
Yeah.
Dude, I stopped really going on Facebook, man. It's just rage porn. So is Twitter. And I'm like, the last time that I had to educate a fucking socialist on economics and how stuff works when he was like, the rich need to pay more. And I'm like, okay, but the rich pay the majority of the taxes.
Well, they're about to pay more in the United States. I think they're going to get away with raising some tax rates. I'm pretty sure. So.
I just read an article how the rich will hide 900 billion of that 1.2 trillion.
Yeah, I mean, they'll
talk about it ad nauseum.
Well, they're raising the salt deduction, which is like, so in America you can write off if you pay state taxes, you can write those off on your federal tax return. So they're talking about raising the taxes on the rich. And then they freaking raise the salt. They want to raise the salt deduction so rich people can write off more taxes. So they're raising taxes, but they're also giving the rich more tax benefits. So it's freaking stupid.
Yeah. What's your guys' thoughts on the wealth tax?
My thoughts on it are this. I can go either way on it. Like, you have a strong case if you say to somebody, okay, you're inheriting $1 billion, dude. That's like winning the lottery.
Yeah.
One time, if you win the lottery, you got to pay 40%. I don't have a problem with that, but I also think that for class upward mobility, I really only think the wealth tax should be on more than 10 million. Is my personal view on it.
Yeah, because kind of like, oh, by the way, lottery winnings in Canada aren't taxable.
Oh, wow.
They are in America.
Yeah, I know. Any sort of like windfall is, the technical term for it. That's like anything that falls into that category is considered non-taxable. It's pretty interesting. But basically the idea with the wealth tax is like the reason some economists kind of support it is because if you look at like the rate of return on capital, right, which is usually historically like 4 or 5, sometimes 7% versus the growth rate of the economy, which is like 1%, 2%, you can assume that the growth rate of the economy will be what people's incomes grow by. So people who don't inherit a lot of wealth, the way they get wealthy is by saving the money which they make from working, and their wages will generally increase at, the rate of growth of the economy, right? Which that rate of growth is much lower than people who inherited a lot of money and are getting 4 or 5% return on that. And because they inherit it like at the beginning of their lives, it grows a lot faster, which in theory will lead to like very, very large wealth inequality, right? Just because of the difference in the growth rates. So that's basically the justification a lot of people have for this wealth tax is you have to make society more equal, more fair, more democratic that way.
I don't necessarily have a problem with taxes. I acknowledge that they need to exist. My problem is just giving the government more money. If I thought the government was responsible and I got a say in it, like, hey, we want to go invade Iraq for no reason. Okay, well, you're asking me to give up a portion of my day to finance that war. And I'm not willing to finance like international regime changes in firing a Hellfire missile at a guy in Yemen who makes 80 cents a day for the Saudis. I'm just not willing to give you that money. And then ultimately, all this turns into some special interest. Like Coley and Noir on Rogan's podcast just went with the Los Angeles has a $400 million homeless budget, but the money's not getting in the hands of the homeless. So it's like, well, why am I giving you more money?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the government, a lot of tax dollars go to benefit government employees. Like, I can say for a fact, we're paid more for what we do than the average person by far. We're extremely overpaid. So that's why it just tells me that giving the government money is just going to lead to inefficiencies in the economy. That's all it is.
Yeah, that's another argument people make when they say, disband like all these agencies, right? Like the EPA, for example. They say all that is just like a big government bureaucracy and it's not efficient at what it does. Like if you want to protect the environment, which is like the goal of it, the way you do that is through like charities, right? Because charities have to compete with one another to get, donations because people are going to donate to the charity that best solves climate change, for example. But if you just have government doing it, they're just taking the money. They're not competing with anyone for it.
Yeah, but I mean, we also have to acknowledge that there is a balance, that we need some level of government, and we do benefit from a strong central government. That's why the cartels haven't really been able to push into America. But I'm in agreement. I don't know how to solve the world's problems. I do know that capitalism is making the world better for everybody. We are better off today than we were 100 years ago. I can go right now. I can go to Walmart and buy sushi. A king couldn't do that. The king of England couldn't do that in the early 20th century.
I've never had Walmart sushi. I'm not sure it's pretty good at all.
No, I threw it out like Publix maybe, but
fish is probably still alive in there.
Probably, yeah.
Well, that would make it better. At least it's fresh fish,
Yeah.
But everybody, they keep looking to government to solve every problem. And I'm like, government cannot solve every problem. Some level of inequality is just. That's what people also have to expect. If you're a person that works hard and puts their money in low-cost index funds, and you, Jack Bogle's son, you don't deserve in retirement to have you deserve to have more in retirement than the guy that spent all his money on lottery tickets and crack.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a guy I work with. He's down on his luck. He comes to me. He's like, "Hey man, can I borrow $5? Yeah, I need to get a pack of smokes." All right, man. I take mercy on you. He goes, "And I'll pay you back in 2 weeks." I go, I knew he wasn't going to pay me back.
With interest.
Yeah. Comes back to me in the next paycheck. He goes, "Hey man, can I borrow $5 to go get a pack of smokes?" I go, "You still owe me $5 from the last time. Don't think I forgot about it. So no." And it's like, that dude is not doing what he needs to do with his money.
Mm-hmm.
And I acknowledge not every person that's poor should be poor. I mean, there's people that had unfortunate medical accidents, and I don't think that should be a thing. I don't know how to solve the healthcare system. I don't have a problem with my money going to help somebody with health difficulties.
Well, I mean, we have Obamacare. I mean, all right, I guess they're going to reinstitute it. I think Trump kind of gutted it a little bit, but I mean, that kind of covers the majority of people that don't have health insurance. So in my opinion, we already have enough government health care to cover everybody that needs it. We have Obamacare that gives like tax credits for poorer people. We have Medicaid for really poor people. And then we have Medicare for old people. So that should cover everybody because the people that have health insurance get it through their employer. So I don't know why people are still pushing for universal health care so bad, but we already have enough, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, I don't know that I disagree with that. My thing is if you want to have the argument, we're a wealthy enough society, and you want to figure, I think we should approach things scientifically. Is the right answer a socialized medical system? Maybe. People in England seem to love their healthcare over there, but we could afford to have a purely capitalist one and, for the poor, a socialist system. Problem is, our current healthcare combines the worst aspects of both.
I mean, I personally like U.S. private healthcare. I mean, I have it. I can go anywhere I want with my healthcare plan. I can choose a different healthcare plan. I don't have to, I don't have to take a plan that the government gives me. So I have the option. I can go to this doctor. I can go directly to him. I can go directly to him. If he sucks, I can go somewhere else. So there's still competition in the system, and it's really not that expensive when it's covered by your employer. So it's not. People make it out to be like the U.S. healthcare system is horrible, but I actually like it. There's competition. I can go where I want, and I get served pretty quickly. It's not like a complete crap hole.
Also, you have the argument of Thailand. Bangkok has basically become Europe's hospital. They'll sit there, their healthcare system. They're like, wow, we could do it here, or we could put you up in Bangkok, and you get to keep. I don't know exactly how it works. I could be talking out of my ass a little bit, but basically, a lot of European countries send their citizens to Thailand to get the surgery done. So, and that's a purely capitalist system over there, I believe.
A big disagreement I have with socialized medicine is that, let's say you want to be a doctor, right? Well, a lot of incentive for people to become doctors is, especially in the U.S., is they're going to make a lot of money. But if you socialize the healthcare system, you're going to have to put a bunch of price controls. So you can't spend as much on salaries and yada, yada, yada. So that doesn't incentivize a lot of people to actually become doctors because they study for 10 freaking years, and then they finally finish medical school, and they get paid, an average salary under socialized healthcare, where they can make way more in a capitalist system to compensate them for all the time and money they spent, getting their medical degree.
My thing is, what I would do with doctors to lower the amount of costs to them, because a lot of costs are borne by their medical school bills. What I would do is I just say to doctors, hey, if you work for the VA for 10 years, we'll zero that debt. And then you can go start your private practice. You get all the practice you need, and then you don't have any debt, and we'll freeze it too. It's kind of an incentive. I don't know if that would work, but it kind of seems like one of the really big things we need to do is basically eliminate a lot of the debt that doctors have. You go to fucking school for 12 years and you're $1 million in the hole starting out. That is a bonkers system to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's insane, but a lot of degrees are like that. And the interesting thing about doctors, if you go back a long time ago, centuries ago in the 1800s, being a doctor was not something people really wanted to do. It was kind of like how being a janitor is today, where it was seen as a bit of a gross job. It's you're dealing with sick people. It's kind of a disgusting thing to do. But then kind of as time went on, they, basically restricted the amount of doctors that can be become doctors, really. They made medical school really hard to get into, super expensive, obviously. So now the services that doctors provide just absolutely skyrocketed.
Yeah, the main thing with school is I can fix the school system in America in 1 minute. I just end the subsidized loans. Go to schools, you can compete. You can't straddle down a kid. And I know some of it is personal decision. People will say that, but I go, remember how fucking dumb you were when you were 18. Not a lot of.
When I was 18.
Huh?
I was a genius when I was 18.
Yeah, not me.
But, yeah, well, the whole thing with that with the rising student debt, I've had this conversation with many people, and it always comes down to these two arguments. It's one, the government guarantees the loans, which obviously has made the cost go up so much because now like there's no risk to like providing a loan to someone because the government guarantees it, which means universities are able to charge like much higher tuition, which is generally regarded as why it goes up. But so you say that's a problem. Well, it's also a problem if you get rid of that and then you restrict access to schools, because people should have the ability to get a loan to pay for school if they can't afford it immediately, right? Because there are certain people who do well in academia, right? And there's obviously certain people who don't, and it's just a waste of time and money for them.
Well, I mean, I think access to school, it doesn't have to be restricted. I mean, you can have school. There are tons of schools here that are extremely cheap. That's how they compete. They charge much lower tuition.
Yeah, and there's also this. There's also this though. If you're a kid, right? If you eliminated the system and of the subsidized loans, and you had to go to a bank and get a loan, and I go into a bank and I say, hey, I want to go to the local community college for whatever, a certificate. Let's just use medical billing and coding because I'm probably going to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I can go to them and I say, okay, I wasn't the best student, but this job pays between $16 and $32 an hour. Then once I've proven I can do the schooling and I'm paying back the loan, I can come back to you because my plan is to use that as a part-time job and then go to school for accounting or finance or whatever. And
accounting.
Yeah, accounting. And the bank guy's looking at me and he goes, okay, this seems like a reasonable loan to take on. You want $2,000 to go to the local community college for a year. We can do that, make some money in the process. Then that person has proven that they're school material. If they have that part-time skill right there, they might not even have to take a loan now if they're going to a community college, and they can go the cheap route. Somewhere along the lines, people got this idea that they need to go to these prestigious schools for stupid degrees. And that's directly born of the subsidized. In a world where you have to get a loan from a bank, gender studies doesn't exist, and it doesn't need to exist because it's not a real thing.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think too many people in America go to college, in my opinion. I mean, just think of all the money we waste on lending money to students to get stupid degrees that do nothing for the future. Like when they could instead go to the library and read about the same things. But, maybe instead of loaning all this money to finance kids to go to college and waste 4 years, what if the money was used to like lend to a innovative new business person that's going to create the next, new hot technology? So just think of all like the billions and trillions of dollars that are being diverted from, getting invested into capital and going instead to students that get worthless degrees. I think that's the biggest waste that we have here, but that's just now.
You're not looking at the opportunity cost to those kids. So they're affected fiscally for the rest of their lives. Is they took on that $100,000 for, underwater interpretive lesbian dance, and now they're a barista at Starbucks. When they could have just went to work at Starbucks, started investing in low-cost index funds.
Yeah, but people, it's bad politics to tell people that like their degrees are worthless, right? And like if you have people who are trying to get into elected office, they have to appeal to the masses, and and a lot of people, would disagree and say that like people should be able to study whatever they want to study, right? Like if you want to go to school for whatever you want, you should be able to do it.
But I shouldn't have to pay for it. And nobody else should have to pay for it. If you want to go to school to study something stupid, that should be on your dime.
Yeah, if you get a loan from a private bank, cool. You go right ahead. But the taxpayer shouldn't be forced to freaking take on the burden and the risk, to send you to do nothing for 4 years. That's our big disagreement.
And it's also college degrees have been cheapened by the way that a bachelor's degree is a dime a dozen now. Didn't used to be that way. So,
yeah,
it's you can always, if you're thoughtful, you can always benefit. It's do the opposite. Is everybody going to college? Good, go to a trade school. Is everybody going to a trade school? Good, go to a trade school, then go to college.
Yeah, but it's also a lot of people just they see it as the next step, like the logical next step that they take in life, because when people graduate high school, like, yeah, anyone can kind of like start their own business or go learn a trade or anything, but you have to be you're the outlier if you do that. And that's uncomfortable for most people, because most people, all their friends are going to school, and if all their friends are going to school and having all this fun as like an 18, 19-year-old, you're thinking, why the hell am I studying plumbing at this like tiny school that, that
And as an older guy who's benefited from making a lot of mistakes in life, this is what I would say. Fuck your friends. Who cares? You won't talk to most of them by the time you're 40, nor would you want to, because most of them are still the exact same people that they were in high school, and they're boring. I'd be like, dude, you can go to college. You're now a plumber. So you have all the money in the world. Like, what do you want? Do you want to be in debt, or do you want money? And plumbing's not a bad job. People, most of the time, it's doing small things and getting paid $350 an hour.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the worst job. Like, that's the thing about these jobs, is because no one's like really going into them. If you do decide to go into it, you're gonna have an easier time.
Oh yeah, dude. If you're a plumber right now, you write your own ticket.
Yeah.
You don't. Your boss is a cunt. You're just like, okay, well, see ya. Where you going? Oh, well, I have another job offer, and you're a cunt.
Well, plus having your own trade allows you to become self-employed, which I think is the best possible route you could take. Whereas if you go to college and then you go to business school, I mean, you're going to be stuck working for a corporation your whole life, especially if it's like an MBA or something like that. Whereas if you're a plumber or HVAC, you have the opportunity, once you have the skills, to branch off and start your own business, which gives you even more freedom in the long run.
The guys down here who did HVAC, who worked for Publix, just maintaining the freezers, probably the same thing as Walmart, $100K a year at minimum.
I picked the wrong job. I need to quit my accounting, go be an HVAC man.
Oh, but we as accountants can like always open our own like private practice, right? Like, if you know what you're doing, it's pretty easy. Like, you have to get like clients, obviously, which takes some effort. Like, you can't just stop and then suddenly like this money's going to be coming to you, because it is kind of like, it's similar to plumbing in that it's an actual like, somewhat of a technical trade. Like, it's a certain skill set that most people don't have and always will need help with.
I agree.
The tax is the big skill for accountants. I mean, auditing, I guess you could start your own business, maybe, but tax, like, that's so complex and so convoluted. If you want to become self-employed, at least in America it is, that's the way to go, is to, specialize in tax. And then once you build enough clients, you have a side business, and then once it's big enough, then you can quit your main job. So yeah, I mean, I agree that I was just joking a little bit, but accounting is another way to eventually become self-employed if you want to.
Yeah, and there's so many different, when people say accounting, there's so many different things. I talked about this last time. A forensic accountant.
That's what I did.
Is that what you're doing?
Well, I did. It was my last internship. Was forensic accounting. It was really interesting. I had a lot of fun there.
Yeah, dude. You are basically, the government wants you. That's where you get a sweet, cushy job working for the IRS. Like, and say what you want, but for me, I like a challenge. So I would divorce myself from like my personal feelings and be like, I'm gonna find this fucking money.
Yeah, no, it was really, there's like I worked on like a lot of different stuff. Like, one was like a super rich like man and woman are getting divorced, and like the woman thinks the man's hiding assets. One was like just a regular corporate fraud. One was like a Ponzi scheme. It was cool stuff, man.
Yeah, we have no money saved. We have this big house and nice car. Where's our money? He must be hiding the money. He couldn't have spent it all on his house and his car.
Did you see that Robert De Niro is basically broke because of their spending, and his wife wants something like $300,000 a month?
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's the thing that's insane about like spousal support, is like, if you're rich, your spousal support is higher just for the reason that, you know, the person you divorced is used to a higher standard of living. Like that's the only reason.
Yeah, I don't agree with
I'm covered on that because like I live like poor. I don't spend crap. So if I ever got divorced, I'd be like, oh well, if you want to maintain your standard of living here, you know, you can go out to eat once a week and drive a Ford Fiesta. That's your standard of living, honey.
That'd be hilarious if that's how you lived with like $100 million in the bank. You're just like, she's used to me living off $200,000.
I mean,
I don't know where she gets these numbers from.
It's true. You know, like it doesn't matter how much I make. I don't spend a lot. This is my standard of living. It's a nice, easy, low income life. So you don't get that much.
Oh, dude, I was about to do a trash pick on some furniture today, but it was broken up a little bit too much. It was nice. I was going to get like a little dresser somebody had set out, but I was like,
Dude, check out Facebook Marketplace. I don't know if they have that in Canada, but like Facebook Marketplace, you can get some gems. Like we've got some nice freaking furniture, and it's been really, really cheap. So if you want to buy crap, I mean, you're gonna have to pay a little bit, but I would definitely check that out.
Yeah, you can always get stuff like super cheap on there. Like, you know, like my dad, we have this treadmill at like my parents' house, and like my dad was trying to like get rid of it. And he was trying to get rid of it like 2 years ago. He put it online for like $150 and like no one was buying it. And then during the pandemic, when all the gyms were closed, he put it online for like $300 and it sold in like 2 minutes.
Yep. That's how that works. I forgot what I was going to say. Go on.
Wave your hands. So we think something.
No, dude. Oh, that video I made. Sorry, I didn't get it up. I was getting groceries and shit today, but it's basically me mocking Meet Kevin's stupid portfolio. I go through there and I'm like, this guy, I just tell my real feelings. I'm like, this guy has no clue what he's doing. He has stupid shit in there like Lemonade. It's a Chinese company. Most Chinese companies are not investment worthy.
Is it a lemonade stand?
Yeah, I was like,
yeah, I forget what they do. Dude, he had eBay at 1% of one of his portfolios, and I go, okay, in this portfolio you have Tesla at 12%, in another portfolio you have Tesla at 22%, and you have 50% Tesla in another portfolio. You put your two best stocks in this portfolio in the lowest position. The dude's a moron. I don't understand.
Yeah,
like,
but no one's gonna watch him if he's investing in like, you know, water utility companies or like financial service companies. Like people want to see him invest in the trendy stuff.
Yeah, but like it's a long term. He's gonna lose in the long run because you know if he invests in these stupid companies and then they tank, he's gonna look like an idiot. You know, so he might be big in the short term, but you look 5 years from now and you know, he's in the gutter. I don't know how he maintains his, you know, his status as a good investor.
Just to juxtapose it, I use my portfolio in M1, and I go, "Oh, you're going to say to me, he's got 72% in this one pie. You're an idiot." I go, "Okay, well, here's a pie I created that's returned 87% in the past year and a half, and I don't think that's going to keep up." And then I showed him one that was just a straight Boglehead of index funds. It returned 55% in the past year and a half versus his portfolio set up at like 49%. I'm like, so what would you rather do? Do nothing and get better returns, or, you know, YOLO into stupid stocks?
Yeah, but I mean, obviously for him, like his whole channel is just based on like investing, right? Like how did he make his money? Is he like a real estate guy or was it just from YouTube?
I'll save you that. He made all his money on YouTube.
Yeah, like that's most of these people, right? Because like if you have like 1 million subscribers and your channel is about day trading, you don't even need to make money day trading. Like you make more than enough money just off having the 1 million subscribers.
Yeah, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy because you show your portfolio and your portfolio keeps going up and up, and people think that's because you're having massive gains when really you're just taking your YouTube money and investing it into your portfolio. There's a guy called Chris Sane. My friend showed me him. He has like a Robin. He has like 150K in Robinhood, you know, totally tax efficient there. And you keep seeing his portfolio like go up and up and up, but his percentage gains are not that big. So he's just throwing in all his freaking
Yeah.
YouTube money into his portfolio, and he's such a genius.
Yeah, well, like finance, like YouTubing is like super profitable. Like the CPM on like personal finance type content is like literally 10 times as high as like a lot of like other content that people make. Like it's insane how profitable it is, which I guess is just because a lot of people want to like sell day trading courses and want to advertise it on YouTube.
Well, I wonder if that's going to keep up. Like if we enter a bear market, maybe interest starts to go down with investing. I don't know if that mega profitability is going to stay what it is right now.
Well, a lot of these guys, we talk about this all the time. A lot of these guys are going to be in for stonks don't always go up, and you're going to see inflation start to kick in, and at a certain point the interest rates are going to rise, and it's going to put the brakes on the stock market. We're already overheated. We're overbought. So, I mean, Jeremy's going to find out that he's not going to get 15 to 20% per year for the rest of his life.
This guy, Jeremy.
Well, I hate Meet Kevin the most. I think Jay hates Jeremy the most.
No, I hate Meet Kevin more now.
Yeah, dude, at least Jeremy's like kind of diversified, but Meet Kevin, once I heard 48% Tesla, I was like, okay, this is the number one idiot on YouTube. And then his freaking thumbnails are just the worst.
Yeah, no, I got to start working on my YouTube where I'm just like, and it just says Meet Kevin is straight garbage under it. Here's why.
Yeah, here's why ...
Yeah, I'm gonna start. I'm really gonna start doing that stupid thing where I just put in like I'm really gonna double down on the just ridiculously YOLOing into stuff. And for some reason, some people believe me, and I'm like, I could not make this any more obvious that I'm straight doing this for comedy.
That means they don't know anything about investing. If they can't get the jokes, even if they're obvious jokes that somebody would get if they had investing knowledge, that means they just don't know anything at all.
Dude, one of the guys said to me I was a moron, and I was like, well, one of the two of us is definitely a moron, and it's probably not the guy that understands sarcasm.
Yeah, I got my first hater recently.
Did you? What'd he say?
I think he deleted his comment, but basically, like I made a video recently about like Bitcoin and why it's not digital gold, and like basically comparing the differences between, the properties that gold has versus Bitcoin and why they're different. And then he basically just said like this video will not age well. I think he deleted his comment because it's not there anymore, but he disliked the video. And, it's kind of funny. My channel has been up for all of like not even 2 months now. And I have people telling me my videos aren't going to age well.
You can't touch the holy grail of Bitcoin, okay? If you criticize Bitcoin or Peter Schiff or Dave Ramsey, don't criticize Dave Ramsey. Be careful.
I've seen those videos of yours of you criticizing Dave Ramsey. There's not the favorable like to dislike ratio there.
Oh, and any like hot stocks, like I had one like to dislike that was like 10 dislikes to 1 like. It was horrible. But you can't criticize them; they're going to attack you. But
yeah, dude, those very same people are going to be back to us in 4 years.
Yeah, what's the saying? He who speaks the truth needs a fast horse.
I think I've heard that before, but yeah, it's definitely true. And it's like, so, you look at it like this, and you can just even logic this out with a Bitcoin investor. I'll tell you how they're going to do it. They're going to sell it to the public that Bitcoin is used by terrorist organizations and drug dealers to launder money. And that's when governments around the world are going to get involved in this. Bitcoin has no inherent value. I have to turn Bitcoin into cash, which if you think you're going to repeatedly get away with it, they're going to call that tax evasion and put you in jail.
Yeah, the thing with like another thing about Bitcoin is like, and just like financial markets in general, is you can be wrong about something and still make money on it, right? Because if you bought Bitcoin when it was $1,000 a coin, thinking it's going to be the currency of the future, and then it goes up to $50,000 a coin, and you sell it to someone for $50,000 a coin who also thinks it's going to be the currency of the future, and then it doesn't end up fulfilling that prophecy, you made a lot of money, but you were still wrong. You know what I mean? And then the opposite, you can be right and still lose money.
That's why I tell people there is nothing wrong with speculation if you really understand what you're speculating on.
Yeah, and like you need speculation.
If you would have said back in 2010, oh, Bitcoin, what is this? Done some research, and you're like, oh, you know what's going to happen? I think nerds are going to think this is going to become the currency of the future. I'm going to throw $1,000 at it. Just see what happens, just to watch it. You know, that $1,000 would be now worth $100 million.
I mean, I would say speculation is good. This is a big caveat, as long as it's a small percentage of your
yes.
You know, but obviously, you know, if you're putting all your money into it, speculation is extremely bad and dangerous.
Yeah, you can't like put all your money into speculative assets for the long term and expect it to work out. But the thing is, like, some speculation is like absolutely needed in like a capitalistic society. Like if you have someone who wants to start a business, they need someone to give them the money to do that. And they're speculating, right? Because they don't know how that business is going to do, if there's a market for whatever they're selling type thing. So it's needed in some cases.
I use this example all the time. What if you just said, you were like in the mid 90s, most of your money was in your 401k, and you read about this little company called Amazon, and you're like, you know what? I got confidence in Jeff Bezos. $1,000 in there. When it crashed 95% in 2000, you're not panicking. You're like, you know what? I want to see what this is going to do. And you held on. You'd have like $2 million today. So yeah, I think like a tiny amount, like less than 1% of your portfolio in speculation is a smart move.
Yeah, but a lot of people don't have the mental fortitude to stomach that type of loss. Like if Amazon.com and the .com bubble goes up to whatever it was, loses 95, you know, it's not an actual like realized loss, but it's like an emotional loss, right? Because in your head, you're thinking, I could have sold it at this price. So it's going to be a lot harder to think, well, I just should like hold on to it because there's so much emotions involved in that decision.
Yeah, but if you were a guy who'd been investing his whole life and it was mostly in like your 401k and you had like $400,000 in there, you'd be like, fuck it, let it ride.
Yeah.
If I lose it,
people get emotionally involved when they have most of their money into a speculative asset. But, you know, if you have nothing or like 1% or less, then yeah, you don't give a crap.
Yeah.
$450 into Oxford Lane Corp Capital. It pays a 20% dividend, even though it has a negative earnings per share. Just out of curiosity, right? So I've gotten almost a 100% return on that in less than a year. If tomorrow it tanks, I don't care because it was just fun for me. It pays me a dividend every month. And I was like, you know what? That was really, to me, was like gambling on a Conor McGregor fight.
Is that even considered?
I just happened to pick Dustin Poirier, who beat his ass last time.
Is that even considered like a dividend though? If a company's losing money, and it like in terms of tax purposes, I think isn't that called like a return of capital or something, and you don't have to pay tax on it?
Well, because they have they might have accumulated earnings and profits. So even if you have like negative earnings and profits in the current year, if you have accumulated earnings and profits, then from a tax perspective, it's not a return of capital. But eventually, yeah, if you deplete all of your accumulated earnings, then then it gets into return of capital territory.
I would also add that every individual stock that you buy is actually a form of speculation.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much.
Yeah,
even Walmart.
It's a smart speculation, but it's smart to believe that they'll be here in 50 years. But I mean, Kodak.
Yeah, like that's the thing. You just never like anything can happen to a business, right? Like you can have the absolute strongest conviction that this company is going to be the next big thing, and then just something random out of nowhere can happen, and you'll be wrong about it. That's what makes it kind of speculation.
The one stock I get emotional about is Walmart. Okay, so if we can just move on from criticizing the potential death of Walmart, that would be okay.
Walmart's not going to die, but it's a massive speculation if you're investing in a certain car company with a rock star CEO, because if something happens to that CEO, that company's done. Put a fork in it.
I mean, you got to look at your potential risk versus your potential reward. You know, like if you're taking massive risk for not much reward, it's stupid. But if you're taking, you know, a small amount of risk for potentially, you know, a decent amount of reward, that's better. So there's certain investments that are speculative. I mean, you could say all stocks are speculative, but there are some speculations that are much more grounded in reality and are reasonable than other ones.
Yeah, like my Bank of America YOLO. $500 into Bank of America.
YOLO.
It's almost a 100% return on that. But using my deductive reasoning, I deduced that Bank of America would once again rise in price, and it was just a bank cycle.
Yeah, well, I mean, that was such an easy play. I mean, like, because I bought it too. I was like, come on, Bank of America. Yeah. That's
PE ratio of like 11 when I bought it. I'm like, this is a no-brainer. I'm not even going to do any more research than look at the PE ratio. And I think I looked at the PEG ratio, and it was under the PEG ratio.
Under 1?
Yeah, it was under 1, I believe. I think it was like 0.7.
Do you guys look at PEG ratios like whenever you do any kind of analysis? Because I personally look at them and I'm just like,
I take it
like you're valuing a company based on future earnings, right?
Yeah, but I take it more serious than I take PE ratio solely because that was one of Peter Lynch's favorite metrics. And
right.
that dude's a fucking legend.
Well, I mean, ultimately, like, you have to look at all the ratios all together. Like, one ratio isn't going to tell you anything. And then, even then, you know, everybody else sees the same ratios. So, you know,
who determines, like, the growth in a PEG ratio? Is it just, like analyst estimates?
Yeah. It's always an estimate of the growth. You can't predict what the growth is going to be. So all analysts' expectation are speculation. They can make an educated guess and get close, but you can't accurately predict how many cars Tesla's going to sell next year. You might get close, but you could be way off.
Yeah, I'm just saying because it's something I personally don't look at just because.
Everybody's got their way.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like, aren't there two different variants of the PEG ratio? Because you have the trailing earnings growth, because you can look back at like past growth, and then there's like looking at, you know, potential future forward growth. So I would say the past one obviously is a lot more, you know, reasonable. Something
because it happened.
Better to use that. But yeah, anything that's like forward PE or forward PEG or whatever, that would be stupid. So I don't rely on those a lot. But
I mean, a good one is price to book. Honestly.
Well, I think with tech, they say that's not necessarily that.
No, it's not. You can have like closer to 1 on the book. 3 is considered okay, and it's higher for tech.
Yeah, well, I mean, tech is basically like you're looking at a company that, like, if they sell software, their assets are pretty small, right? So their book value isn't going to be huge.
Yeah, and so I mean, it's all to be taken with a grain of salt, which is what I say to people. People ask me for stock tips at work, and I go, "Put your money in the TSP." Like
boring.
Like, here's my big question: is, you know, here's another reason Meet Kevin is a moron, along with all these other YouTubers that have
Kevin.
that have all these stocks in their portfolio. Like, I have 100 different stocks. Okay, bro. Well, you don't have time to keep on the comings and goings of each individual company.
I mean, if you have that many stocks, you might as well buy an ETF. I mean, I could see if you had like 20 or 30 stocks, okay. I mean, even that's that's too much in my opinion, but I could see it because most ETFs don't have 20 stocks, but 100, 200, come on, just buy a freaking ETF.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You're right. You put it better than the way I was saying it. You're basically making your own ETF. Why? Like, I would rather just throw money at it and go to the beach.
You don't have to pay fees.
Huh?
No fees if you do it yourself, right?
Yeah, you have to rebalance, and you have all these short-term capital gains and transaction costs. And plus, like, ETFs usually have some kind of logic behind them. Like, maybe they're equally weighted, or maybe they're market cap weighted. There's some kind of logic. Whereas, like, if you just have 100 stocks, you probably just like spent 50,000 here and 2,000 here, and it's just a bunch of mishmash with no like underpinning reason. You just had some cash laying around, and then you threw it into a random stunk that you saw about on Wall Street Bets.
Oh, bro, remember when you told me I was stupid for putting $60 into HCMC? Guess who made 100% on that? Who's laughing now? Now I got $120.
Did I tell you not to do that?
No, we were joking around. My buddy said, hey, man, this penny stock. I go, sell me on it. He goes, I'm just putting a little bit of money in it. I go, okay, I'm in. So I threw in 60. He put in like 100.
Oh, $200. He can retire probably. You can generate what, 4 cents a year in 40 cents a year in passive income. No,
not bad.
Yeah, there you go. Good to go.
So you have a new income stream.
Yeah,
I do, dude. I'm gonna go in and quit my job tomorrow. Call my boss a cunt. Walk out.
Have you guys heard of SafeMoon?
my friend told me about that.
What is this?
It's like
The latest crypto.
You can explain it better.
Yeah, well, I mean, so like the idea behind it is like pretty good. It's basically a cryptocurrency that rewards you for holding on to it longer, which I guess why it's called SafeMoon. It's a safe way to get to the moon. I don't know. It's something like that. But what ended up actually happening with it was a few people heard about it, and like one of my close friends like invested like $100 in it, and then all these people started pumping it on Twitter, and then it went up like 15,000% in like a couple days, and then he just sold it immediately. And I don't know what it's at now. I mean, it's like super cheap, like talking like 1/100 of a cent type thing.
So he made 15 G's off that?
Yeah, for like a small like $100 invest in like 3 days.
Did he in turn turn around and put that into low cost index funds?
I said he should do that. I don't know. I'll ask him, but I think I don't know if he's still holding it, but I know he said he sold enough to basically like recoup his initial investment. So then it was just like profit from there on. But yeah, I mean, that whole thing was such like a micro trend. I don't know if it's still it's like if you take Dogecoin, like if you have like Bitcoin and then you take, Bitcoin squared is Dogecoin squared is like SafeMoon. It's like about as insane as it can get.
It's actually pretty fun to see like the newest scam that they come out with in the crypto world. Like I can't wait to see like in the next couple of months what kind of crap they're going to start pumping on the big YouTube channels. I
might ride it. I can get 1,000% on $100.
You know, a good place to look is like if you go on, obviously Wall Street Bets, but you want to go on like the darker, dankier parts of the web, like maybe like 4chan. They might be talking about some, not well-known cryptos on there. There's a bunch of places where they're really sketchy, but then they kind of explode from there.
Yeah, dude. I was talking to somebody about crypto, and they go, "Dude, when do you think it's going to crash?" I go, "I have no idea, but this is right before it crashes. This will happen. People will bring up crypto, and everybody will laugh. Nobody takes it seriously." Leon, I know. I watched that video.
If you ever wonder what crypto was, that's crypto. See it? Right there.
A steaming pile of crap. But that's when it happens. It's right when everybody just kind of looks at each other and they're like, what? And they just start laughing. Right after that, it collapses. You remember the Beanie Babies of the late 90s, Chris?
I've heard about Beanie Babies, actually.
There were literal married couples fighting in court over Beanie Babies because people were saying they're an investment. And what happened is it's just the greater fool theory. Again, that's how this always plays out. It's the greater fool theory.
Yeah.
So there were people that were investing their life savings in plush toys that you can just make.
I think the next big thing is going to be massive teddy bears. That's why I'm holding on to this because I'm going to sell it for like 10x next year.
Yeah, but
that's what I'm doing with
things
Baby
that people
Yoda.
make money on, like with Beanie Babies, basically like in the whole like collectibles world, because that's like people consider collectibles an alternative asset class, right? Like this is something I'm into quite a lot. And there's like two things. You have organic collectability and then mass-produced scarcity. So mass-produced scarcity is what Beanie Babies was, because it was just the company marketing these plush toys as being investments and like collectible things when they're just making them and just marketing them as that, which is like organic collectability is something, like a rare first edition book, or like the Gutenberg Bible, something like that.
Or like retarded Jackson Pollock painting.
So, I'm going to try to start a new trend. So one of my buddies here actually bought this book called Stop Being a Broke Loser. And I actually signed it. And I was like, dude, you never know. Maybe one day you could have the only signed copy of my book. And then it'll be worth like 50,000x.
You got to inscribe it too. That's how you really boost the value.
I need to get an NFT.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, the little girl with the psycho look NFT that sold for $500,000. That's how I know. There's a bubble everywhere in the stock market. Hey man, you need to get in on NFTs. What's that?
What I really want to see an NFT be made for is if Joe Rogan would make an NFT for the first ever Joe Rogan podcast and then put that up for like public auction.
Oh my God, dude. Do you know that would be worth, well, it wouldn't be worth, but that would go for a ridiculous sum of money.
Yeah, the price would be high. The worth would be zero.
If I was friends with him, I'd be like, dude, you want to make like a cool 200 million? He's like, what do you mean? I'd be like, dude, make your first podcast an NFT and sell it. You're like, well, what is it? Does the person who buys it have value? No, that's the best part. You're basically stealing from a rich asshole.
Yeah, and like people are basically applying NFTs to collectibles. So if you have like, say like a super high value like comic book that's worth like millions of dollars, they'll basically have like fractional ownership through NFTs in that comic book. So you can own like 0.1% of that comic book.
Yeah, I'll stick to low cost index funds and ETFs.
Yeah, I considered it for about, a microsecond, and then I decided to stay with my VT ETF.
Yeah, it's also like market manipulation is pretty bad, and because like when you're talking about collectibles, basically there's no SEC for it, right? So you can kind of just go in and
and again,
official sale.
It comes back to this that I keep saying to people. I'm like, this is when it crashes, when nobody's taking it serious anymore. Like, what? The lay people will start talking to me about NFTs because they've been asking me about crypto, and I'm like, it's not money. They're like, well, so-and-so made a lot of money with it. Okay, well, you needed to get in on it 10 years ago. Did you get in on it 10 years ago? Okay, then don't go in.
Also, whenever you guys have uploaded a video about like any sort of crypto, you've gotten like spam comments, right? Mm-hmm. Like of people like, exclamation points saying how much money they made. That kind of proves the point of what you're saying, right? The fact that that's happening on your videos because someone's creating a bot to boost it.
It's super sophisticated. Like it'll have one comment and then it'll have like 10 comments from 10 different accounts. It's like, holy crap.
Yeah, and it's all just like when your video has like 10 comments, you just upload it and it has like, only a couple views and there's already more comments than there is views. It's kind of like, all right, this doesn't really make any sense.
Yeah, it's just designed to fool people out of money. I'm like, Chris, you're right. With look at the dark corners if you want to speculate. Look at what are these retards at Wall Street Bet talking about? They're talking about Nokia. And they're like, we knew it was coming back. And I'm like, okay, this is a garbage company, but maybe on the next one they keep talking about, maybe I have 500 extra bucks and I'm willing to speculate.
Well, I was actually, so I did a video. I like went through Wall Street Bets, and there was one stock they were pumping that only had a 3 million market cap, which if you pump that on Wall Street Bets, you could potentially move that stock significantly.
Oh yeah, you could.
Well, they're all low floats, right? Like all these penny stocks.
Well, so some of them are not, but this one specifically, like I saw others for like $1 billion, $2 billion. I mean, okay, whatever. But yeah, the one stock 3 million, you could make a fortune if you got enough idiots to buy that.
Yeah.
Well, let's find one and start pumping it on our channels.
Watch us explode in popularity. You start pumping some stupid penny stock.
Yeah, it's like, dude, my subscriber count goes up by 1,000 overnight. Like, what?
It probably would. That's a lot of people, like when they start out with you making like, because you have to start out like when you're a new channel, you have to start making like niche content, right? Like if you're just making content that's designed for like, a general industry or like similar content to what people who have like millions of subscribers makes, it's going to be a lot harder for you because it's such a saturated content market. But if you're talking about a niche topic, like 2 specific stocks that you like and you like feel really passionate about,
What up?
quite a bit.
Up, guys?
You're an hour late, sir.
Well, I was cleaning and I was buying crypto, so
All right, never mind. That's okay.
I was on Coinbase and buying Dogecoin and all the other. So,
Dude, you're set for retirement.
that's what I said. I was. It's funny. I was at the gym today, and one of the guys that works there, he goes, because he knows that I've always pushed Vanguard and all that other stuff, and he goes, "So what do you think about crypto?" And I said, "Yeah, man, just put everything in there, go for it. Everything's just bad. Why not?"
That's my advice. I mean, it's pretty reasonable.
Life is all about risk.
I agree with you. That's why I just YOLO'd 1 share of VYMI this week.
It's one way to do it.
Is that like a international dividend fund? What is that?
It's an international value, yes, dividend. But it's what I like about it is only 9% of it is in North America. I just wanted further diversification because I think
probably Canada's at 9%.
Yeah, because I just think that I think the U.S. market is more overbought than a lot of the European markets. So it just adds diversification, as some people like to call it, to my portfolio.
Well, it's definitely inflated, that's for sure. I mean, I think I was texting you and I just said I can't believe that the market is up this much.
But dude, it could keep going. Like that's what I'm fully invested. I'm not trying to time it.
Really think so?
It could keep going up and up and up, even though it's like stupidly overvalued.
I think it's going to go up for a while. I really do. I think it's going to go up till interest rates start rising.
Yeah, but when's that going to be? I mean, it's funny talking to some of these real estate agents out here in Colorado. It's like they think it's never going to end, and I'm just like, dude, this just can't keep going.
No, I completely agree with you. But remember,
you're in Florida, right? So I mean, you're experiencing the same shit show down there.
Yeah, but you got to remember the old saying, I think it was Benjamin Graham said, the markets can remain irrational longer than you can remain solvent. So when this all ends and comes back to reality, I don't know, but I know a whole generation of dudes that are just accustomed to stonks mooning are going to learn a very important lesson, and that's 10 years, 20 years of no growth. But that is the absolute best time to be buying. The best time to be buying stocks ever was the Great Depression.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're looking at 15% yield on your money.
Well, I think even Obama said during the 2008 recession, he said, I'm not trying to make light of this, but this is a great time to buy some stock.
Yeah.
People got mad at him for that, but I'm like, he's right.
Yeah, I did a video on this recently about like if you had invested during the Great Depression, so assuming you're like 100 years old, right? Because obviously not many people have been around that long. But if you had invested at the Great Depression, $1,000 would be worth over $1 million today.
I saw that statistic, man. I saw that before. I think I was playing around, and I said, what if I had gotten into the Wellington Fund when it first opened? And I put $1,000 in there, and it came back at over $1 million, and I was like,
yeah.
Well, what about? I mean, didn't Buffett start? When did Buffett start? He's also said similar things.
He was investing before he was born.
Yeah.
Didn't he start in the 40s?
I think so.
And the dude was just people like, well, what's Warren Buffett doing? It's like that dude had the equivalent by the time he graduated high school of like $100,000 today.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Dude, he was
born with the ticket.
Mm-hmm.
Is there?
I think that there's definitely a possibility, man. I think if
correction, definitely.
Yeah, it can happen again, man.
I don't know about a depression because I actually have a lot of faith, and people might disagree with me, but I have a lot of faith in I think central bankers have gotten better at fighting against depression. So there's going to be recessions and down markets in the future, but when it comes to a deep depression like what happened in the 1930s, I don't think it'll ever get that bad again unless something really catastrophic that we can't predict happens.
Well, didn't you say, isn't that why the central bank was created? So that would never happen again?
It was created in
the depression. It was created in 1917. So there was a bank run.
I thought it was
1913. Yeah. So there was a bank run before that. And basically they needed somebody to give these banks money to prevent them from going under. So that's why the central bank was created. But the central bank failed to stop the Great Depression because they didn't print enough money, which everybody's talking about now is a bad thing. They didn't print enough money to stop, a lot of banks from going under.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was about liquidity, right? They weren't providing the liquidity the markets needed, that the banks needed, and all these bank runs happened, so people lost their savings. And when people have no savings, they have no money. So that's why it was, almost a decade of a depression, which then eventually took a world war to get out of, because then people needed employed because of this world war.
Well, compare our Great Recession in 2008. That could have been just as bad as the Depression, but the central banks kind of saved us from that by printing money.
We recovered pretty fast, didn't we? For the most part, I mean, in this whole scheme of things, we recovered really quickly.
Yeah, relatively. Better than the Great Depression by far.
Yeah, and I mean, it's I don't know. I think a lot of this stuff that they do is just it works till it doesn't.
Well, I mean, anything could happen. I mean, it's just, it's really fun. It's really funny because I was listening to you guys because I was getting some stuff done, and I was out last night, and guess what? Everybody out, down here was talking about. They were talking about crypto. Everybody's buying. I couldn't believe it. Me and Ryan, who was on before, we were talking about this. This is insane.
This is the one you need to watch out for. This is right before it crashes. When old people
it's way too
When you hear some 75-year-old woman going, my grandson got me to buy BitDoge. I don't really understand it. And I just walking by, I'm like, yo, take your money and run.
Well, the whole platform on Coinbase is a real pain to use anyways. I mean, like you said, 5% of your money should just to screw around with. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll never put any more money into it. I've got $150 into it, and that's it.
Hey, how much have you made?
$6.
Woo!
Bro,
take it to Starbucks.
Walk in, take a dump on your boss's desk, and walk out. $6, dude.
I made $6, motherfucker. Get on your knees.
I'm retiring to Ethiopia. Suck it.
Yeah. All right, so an answer to this comment, relaxation sounds. So we talk about Dogecoin all the time, and I've made videos, and I think some of you have as well. But no, YouTube buries people in the YouTube, for the algorithm buries people. So it's really hard, even if you're talking about stupid crap, to really break out. So I don't know. Maybe we can try titling our video with Dogecoin in the future, but it's still tough to get a lot of viewership.
Let's wait till
you can't make $40,000 a month with your special insider knowledge. You can't make $50,000 a month.
Look, if I don't hear 50x, I don't invest in it. Okay.
Yeah. Dude, I look into my crystal ball and I'm like, oh, this stock will 1,000x.
I just know the future, I sprinkle some tea leaves, and then I make a little Satan symbol, and then I kind of pray a little bit, and then I just get this beam from hell come up and just fill me with stock knowledge. That's all you got to do.
Well, you were a financial advisor. You know everything.
I was a financial advisor.
Hey, did you go to the interview? When do you go to the interview?
Oh yeah, I'm meeting. So if y'all don't know, I'm meeting a financial advisor on Monday at lunchtime.
Oh, you decided to do it? Or are you going to record the phone call?
So I'm not going to record it because that might lead to like legal crap.
Oh, that's right. It depends.
Yeah, I'm going to do like an after action review where I'm going to show him my portfolio and I'm going to try to I'm going to talk about Bitcoin and Tesla and see if he like encourages me to do it.
Goes along with it with your stupid ideas and just being like, hey, let's. Oh yeah, absolutely. Put all your money into that.
Well, if he's a financial advisor, he'll probably say no, because if he advises you to do that and then it crashes, if you like followed his advice, technically you could sue him for malpractice, right? If you say you followed his advice.
Well, as long as
you were paying him.
As long as he explains to you the risks. Like when I was one, they said, okay, as long as you document the risk with the client and you have it written down so they know, you might be okay. But I mean, yeah, there always is the risk, but I don't think, as long as it's explained to you, like if he says you really shouldn't invest in it, but if you really want me to, I'll do it. And then you say, yeah, I still want it. I mean, he's not really that liable in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, I really wish I had recorded that phone call with Jeremy's guy where like I let him talk until I finally just opened up on him. I go, so you're saying you get 25% a year? I'm like, do you know how many investors have done that in history? And I'm like, less than 20. You know, and the dude started falling apart. I go, how does Jeremy even value stocks? I was like, what metrics is he using? And I go, well, he looks at the balance sheets. I go, but he didn't go to school for accounting.
Yeah, dude, he makes himself sound like he's such a genius because he looks at basic financial statements. He's like, oh, the current ratio is really good. It's like, wow, you know how to calculate the current ratio. I'm really proud of you. That is some advanced accounting right there.
I know how to do that too, but the smart way, just go to one of the pages on the internet so I don't have to do anything for it. Like, yeah, it's right there.
Well, especially with right now with the proposed capital gains taxes and all this other stuff, I'm just happy with sticking my stuff in tax efficient,
Yeah,
everything. I'm done, and I'm never touching it. Like, there's no point. And, I'm just like Roth 401k, Roth this, Roth that. I'm not going to touch it.
Yeah, the funny thing is, like, yeah, the market, it is pretty overheated right now, but in 30 years, even if you're buying now at these prices, in 30 years, you're still going to be up significantly, even with the stuff you bought today.
Yeah, but you have to admit that there is a strong temptation, because it feels like now the market is so overheated, to wait a year or two to see if it goes down. Because if it does, then obviously you'd be able to get much greater returns, or just focus on dollar cost averaging. So invest now, keep some money if you can invest it, a year, 2 years from now, if you think the market is overheated and it's due for a correction, right? Because then it's much better to invest at that much lower point, because in 30 years, your returns will be way better.
I mean, the temptation is there. Like, and personally, I am hoarding a lot of cash.
And me too. I'm waiting just for 10 grand if this thing takes a shit.
But at the end of the day, so like I'm hoarding cash, right? But my strategy is I say, okay, I'm going to hoard cash until next January. And then even if the market's overheated, well, now it's time to max my Roth IRA. Mm-hmm. So I'm still going to buy and put in 12 grand into my IRA, my wife's IRA, even at the current prices, because I don't want to hold on to cash. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the market isn't overheated. Maybe the expectations are right, and it keeps going up. You don't know, which is why I'm not a fan of holding cash too long, especially if you're a long-term investor.
I think the smartest strategy is to continually dollar cost averaging no matter what the market's doing, and then keep some dip money on hand where you're like, okay, well, this was for a vacation. I was thinking about taking a vacation with it, but this is just too good of a deal right now. And then just throwing it in there.
Yeah.
I think that's the smartest strategy.
No, I totally agree. That's what I'm doing. I mean, I'm my biggest regret. I mean, obviously nobody could have, thought that this would have happened where we've been in the middle of a pandemic. But if I would have waited till March to max out my Roth IRA, I mean, I would have just it would have been fantastic. So
but you just don't know. I mean,
dude, if anybody out there is watching this and you don't understand how crazy and irrational this is, a portfolio, my M1 Finance portfolio that I just do for fun, is up 49% and it has stuff. I literally picked a pie in there using a random number generator, and that's up like 45%.
Is that the key to really beating the market? Is a random number generator?
Mm-hmm.
No, you need a pet monkey actually.
Yeah.
You get them to throw darts at a board.
Lottery where they just get the balls out of the machine. It's the best way to do it.
You have a chimp throw shit at the wall.
It doesn't have to be feces, okay? We could. He could throw like banana crumbs or something.
Use interpretive dream dance to pick stocks.
Either way, I'm just sticking with the same strategy that I have right now. You know, I'm putting in as much as I can each month and just keep going. I don't care if it's up, if it's down. It's the best way to do it.
Yeah, I mean, like I wouldn't recommend hoarding cash if you haven't maxed your IRA and your 401k. But if you've maxed all those and then you have extra cash and you want to maybe wait for a dip, okay, I'm not against it. But if you haven't maxed those accounts, I would at least say, you know, don't hoard cash for that.
So you think that I should be maxing out my Roth 401k?
If you can. I mean,
I would be stretching thin if that were the case. But I mean, I'm putting as much as I can in. It's just because it is tax advantaged. But
yeah, if you can't physically do it with the amount of money, then it's okay. But I'm saying, like, you know, if you're having a bunch of cash that you're hoarding, maybe that means you actually could be putting more into your 401k.
Possibly. But I like having that safety net.
Well, but don't you already have an emergency savings?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, usually it's just 10,000. Then I'm just for the inevitable dip. That's what that's for. But I guess you're right. I mean, like, it's really made me rethink everything, especially with, you know, Biden talking about, oh, we're gonna just keep taxing capital gains and all this other stuff and more taxes and more taxes. I'm like, okay, well, I better put this money somewhere that, you know. But you're from Canada, right? I think I've watched you before.
Yeah.
Right? So is it the same thing up there with Trudeau, and is he trying to tax the hell out of everybody and just the same kind of stuff, or?
Yeah, well, I mean, capital gains tax in Canada has always just been 50% of your capital gains.
Wow.
Like, it's been that way for a long, long time. Wow. And the big issue going on in Canada right now is home prices. Like right now, so I'm like from the Greater Toronto area.
Gotcha.
Home prices where I live are ridiculous. Like rent prices are still affordable, but home prices are like it's absolutely insane. And one of the things about home prices is we have something in Canada called the principal residence exemption, which means you don't pay any tax when you sell your house. Even if you made $1 million in capital gains, you don't pay any tax on it.
Gotcha. Yeah. So you're experiencing the same kind of fallout that we're facing. I mean, with the home prices and the inflation and all that. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, they're like very correlated economies, obviously, with like minor differences, and like the tax code's quite different, obviously. Like I'm, you know, studying for my CPA, so I've studied like Canadian taxes a lot. I don't know jack about American taxes, but I mean, Canadian taxes are quite high because we have like federal tax and then provincial tax. And then, like, since I'm in Ontario, like the top income tax bracket, when you combine those two, is over 50%. So it's pretty high.
That's what it would be in California.
Yeah, true. Or Puerto Rico, I heard, is a good spot to go to.
Huh? What is it?
Puerto Rico.
Yeah, right. Go hang out.
I thought they were going after a lot of the upper 1%ers in Puerto Rico. I thought
they might be. Once they will eventually, man. Uncle Sam wants some money.
I mean, what about Florida? I mean, it's the same, you know, no sales tax, no income tax, but you know, eventually.
Do we have a sales tax down here? I think we have a sales tax.
No, it's no.
You should have a sales because, like, usually if you don't have an income tax, you probably have like a.
That's Delaware. No, that's Delaware. No, you don't have an income tax. Florida.
Yeah, no income tax, and I mean, this is why you got to love that. The states are incubators of democracy because it's like, oh, California, you want another 15% of my money? Okay, well, I can afford to leave.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm super against like federal tax raises because I'd rather have the states, you know, have different tax rates and then you can pick and choose where you want to live. But if they raise federal rates, well, it doesn't matter where you live.
It doesn't matter.
Tax at that rate, no matter what.
Well, you can go to Puerto Rico.
Yeah, Newsom was joking around saying he's like been the U-Haul employee of the year.
Oh, this dude's such a douchebag.
He's I mean, like, now it looks like the recall is going to happen, and it's going to be bipartisan. I mean, like,
but he's cute. Were we talking about that? He's a hot guy.
Yeah, the chick that I was the girl that I was talking to, I said, in California, I said, your governor is just screwing everything up. It's like, yeah, but he's so hot. He's hot.
Oh my God, he's so
super hot. I'm like, okay, so we need we need a good-looking conservative guy to run for president. That's
Chris Pratt.
Maybe that's my problem on YouTube. Maybe I'm just not as hot as Gavin Newsom. That's why my channel. I guess me, Kevin, and Jeremy are hotter than me.
100% that has an impact.
Stock tips.
Hey, baby, you want some stock tips?
Just have some Chad. Just have some Chad. Giving stock tips and talking about. Oh my God, he's gotten me to save so much money, and he's so good looking.
Dude, Drew, I haven't talked to you since this happened. Outside of a comedy club, or maybe I told you this. After we're all doing the comedian hang where we're joking around, this girl from California starts telling a Colombian that what he's saying about Latinos is offensive, and he needs to check his privilege. And he's just, I'm Colombian. It's offensive.
Well, here's the thing. I just don't. Eventually, all of this stuff it doesn't matter anymore. All I care about is just investing all of my money and just and worry about myself. That's it.
That's the key to happiness. Just turn off the news and
turn off the news. Focus on yourself. It's really hilarious to me that the people I know who are doing really well, they just turned off the news and they turned off everything. They stopped watching everything, and their mental health is better. But people are always on the news and just watching this stuff. They're like, I'm never going to be able to buy a house. It's going to be impossible. Everything's just going down the tubes, and I'm like, okay, I was told the same thing 5 years ago when the market here was insane. And it's always going to be insane because it's a hot area to live in. But I still did it.
Well, so here's the thing. So I stopped watching like political news, but now I get stressed from financial news. Like when I hear about Dogecoin and all these other stupid things,
it pisses
me off.
That's your button. That's your button to just get.
I don't know what to do. Like if I'm trying to build this YouTube channel, so I have to read this crap, but then I read it and it just infuriates me. So
I think, what was it? You're a stupid loser idiot. That was my new favorite phrase from you. Loser idiot. I thought that was a pretty good way to put that together.
So I actually had this T-shirt design. I think Jay saw it on my Facebook, but it's the meme with the Spider-Man. There's like two Spider-Mans and they're pointing at each other. Well, I want to put that on a T-shirt, and then one Spider-Man's dog shit, and the other one is Bitcoin. So they're like pointing at each other. I thought about marketing that or like getting that custom printed.
You should, dude. I told you to make that T-shirt.
Cryptocurrency, because you're born to lose.
It's $26 though. I was like, oh man.
Yeah, you might want to wait until you get 1,000 or 2,000 subscribers. So then that could end up paying off if you got good. See, that's the way to go. Instead of selling stupid courses, sell T-shirts.
Sell your tutoring.
Huh?
Chris is selling his tutoring, right? That's the way to do it.
Hey, yeah. It's a money machine. By the way, Drew, do you still need tutoring?
not yet. Not yet. I'm on the fence about it. I've got a lot going on before I
give you 1% discount. Come on.
You will? Okay.
I'm trying to
Drew, do you have to go through an accounting class?
Possibly. I've got two of them for possible because I'm getting bored, and I'm like thinking to myself, always, when we're going through a shit show like this, it's always good to stay busy and just go back to school. I could always say, what did you do during COVID-19? Or, and I just said, well, I went back to school. I got some certifications. I did what I had to do. Well, everybody's sitting at home watching the news and not doing anything, and just freaking out. So,
dude, I've been thinking the same thing. I've been thinking about doing medical billing and coding because it pays like $16 an hour. I can sit out in the sun on a Saturday, work for a couple hours.
Get your headset on. You get your headset and everything. No, absolutely, man. I mean, there's no excuse now with everything you can get with everything being online. There's no excuse. I mean, there's no reason. You don't have to drive 45 minutes to a physical campus or do anything. You can do everything online. I mean, it's just, I don't know what really is interesting about this is like, I wonder if college campuses are eventually going to, because around here they keep building residential halls, and I'm like, after this, who is going to come back to a physical college?
It's where the party's at. The party will never end. Okay, people are always going to go to
for $100,000 to go party in a dorm.
100%.
That's
Not even a decision.
That's the YOLO.
Are Canadians just as brainwashed as we are when it comes to college? Where you got to, well, do you have the student loan issue?
So it's kind of like that. We have something called OSAP, which is like Ontario's student allowance program or something like that. So it's basically the same thing, except instead of having like a bank loan you money to go to school and the government backs it, the government just loans you the money directly.
There we go.
Yeah. So I mean, there's a lot of controversy about it, like because recently it was like after you graduate, you'd have 6 months without the interest kicking in. So that was like your time to find a job.
Isn't that great?
Yeah, but then they took that away. So now the interest kicks in as soon as like you're done. Now I was lucky enough where like when I was in school, like I went to a reasonable school, like, you know, super affordable tuition. I did internships during like the summers and everything. So I was able to pay for like all my schooling plus everything. So I don't have any debt. So I'm really happy about that. But there are some schools where the tuition cost is insane. It's not like what you have with like Ivy Leagues in the US where it's like 50 grand a year. Like,
there are places way more
expensive, like
expensive. 16. It's way more expensive.
Yeah, it's getting stupid now. Like I looked at my old college and it's gone up by like 10 or 15,000 since I was there. And that was only 10 years ago.
Yeah, like I remember when I like went to business school, right? And I was looking at 2 different business schools and looking at like the tuition. One was like, I think it was like 6,000 like per year. For in like 2, or I can't remember. Yeah, I think it was 6,000 per year. And the other one was 16,000 per year. And I was looking, I'm like, is that a typo or something? Like, because they're basically the same school, but one is just 10,000 higher. So I literally called
the same degree.
Yeah.
You get the same degree, same education, same everything. You know, I think well, you guys have community colleges up in Canada, right? Or is it a different?
Yeah, well, we have like it's weird because like in Canada, a college is kind of like seen as, you know, less expensive and like less of like higher education than a university. Like they mean different things in Canada.
Yeah. No, I think that community colleges are going to just, you know, they're going to thrive after this because they're going to streamline you to a 2-year degree. That's going to get you a skill set. That's going to get you a job right away.
Yeah. It was what we were talking about before with like plumbing and everything.
Yeah. I mean,
dude, you could cut a year off of most college anyways. Like I'm going to school for finance and I have to take this art class. Why? Why do I have to take this? What good is this going to do? Well, it broadens your horizon. I don't want my horizon broadened. I want my fucking skills. And
you should actually go into your advisor's office and say, I don't want my Verizon's, you know, my horizons broadened. No worries, dude.
But you get 12 years of that in high school, middle school.
Well, that's what's stupid. I mean, I think I sent you this. We need to defund public education. I mean, like, what are you preparing people for after 12 years of school?
The brain, it's never going to happen. The brainwashing is just so.
Dude, I told Chris I want to do this, that like when I get everything in order, I'm thinking about going back to community college to get my associates in accounting, 3 classes.
Why not? Yeah, absolutely. Just do it.
Yeah, because I don't have to take any of the other BS. I think 10 classes total, or it might be 11 classes total for me to get an accounting bachelor's. Why did I have to do all that other crap? I could have done accounting and finance and been out of the school in less than 3 years.
Yeah, it's just not. I think it's one of those things that it's just not advertised. I mean, I'm not a big conspiracy theorist by anything, but with everybody pushing people to go to college no matter what, you know, if you question that, you know, you're basically hounded down as being like, how dare you question this? You know, this is the way it's always been. I'm like, yeah, and it's done wonders.
Yeah, and it's stupid. So let's do something
Well,
else.
it is really stupid. But what's interesting to me is like there's really no kind of like national narrative now or any narrative about this, like being like, okay, we need to emphasize what's important when it comes to education. Like there's nothing about that. It's just the same thing. And now it's just like college students are depressed because they can't go back to school. I'm like, what? It doesn't matter how depressed you are. Like you're supposed to get a degree, like and do something. Like just get the you know, just get the degree and then move on with your life.
Need David Goggins to go in there. I'm so depressed because what kind of bitch talk is that? Start running, motherfucker.
Yeah, I think we need David Goggins to like teach at high schools and actually, you know, teach these people some mental toughness.
Not in today's age. That ain't gonna happen.
Yeah,
We
dude.
need to invite him on this live stream. See if we can get him on.
If at some point we ever got big enough, I would love to just
Get Jocko on here, man. That'd be even better.
and look at Jocko and go, are you
Free
investing?
financing.
Yeah, I'm like, are you investing your money in low cost index funds? And he's like, I don't know. I'll just snap you in half if you ask me another. All right, bro. All right, let me just back up.
No, it's you're absolutely right. I think we were talking about this. Like you said, you weren't. You give out the kind of advice that my father gave out to me because he's a boglehead, and he's like, you're absolutely right. Nobody wants to learn how to make money slowly. They want to, hey, I'm a dude, bro, and I want to make $30,000 a month. And I'm like, well, if you were doing that, why are you putting it on YouTube? Shouldn't you want to keep that secret to yourself?
Oh, dude, if I had a secret that made me $30,000 a month, it'd be the four of us would be the only ones doing it. We wouldn't be showing anybody how we were doing it.
Yeah, that's the whole fallacy of like the whole YouTube personal finance scene is like if people really knew how to like, you know, properly invest and how to pick stocks that were going to triple, quadruple and all that, they wouldn't be talking about it on YouTube.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And what's amazing to me is like the GameStop stuff now is just like you've got all these dude bros who are doing the day trading stuff, and I've listened to this. I'm like, you know how much you're going to pay in taxes?
Yeah, they'll find out when they get that tax form at the end of this year or next year. Like they'll have all these massive profits, and they'll probably spend it on a car, so they'll have no cash. And then their tax bill, they're like, "What? I owe $10,000."
Oh, by the way, I was going to ask you about this. Maybe you have a better insight to this. What about all the people? What about all those girls on OnlyFans now, like who are making all this money? Do you think that Uncle Sam's going to come? Uncle Sam's
OnlyFans, like if you make over a certain amount, well, not the like I guess the middleman has to give you a 1099, and then and then they give a copy to the IRS.
So it's coming, I know it's coming due. I was thinking about that.
You got to pay your taxes, man. I
Yeah,
mean,
it's coming due. You're making $500,000 shaking your ass on OnlyFans. Uncle Sam's going to want his cut. I mean, that's.
Can you imagine the IRS agent? He's like $500 on OnlyFans. The fuck is OnlyFans?
Yeah, he's making like 50 a year working.
Yeah, working for the IRS.
Hey, I'm so hot.
But all these people making all of this money off. Like I know it's going to come due. That's what I think is funny about this. You know, oh yeah, you're making $150,000 a year doing this. I'm like, yeah, and Uncle Sam's going to want his cut.
And the biggest thing is, if you're self-employed, you have to pay quarterly taxes. So you better be paying taxes every 3 months. And if you're not, then you're going to get penalized. You're going to owe more than even you would have had you paid the penalty. So
wait, is that how it works in the US? Because like what we have in Canada is it's like a kind of a 2-year rule with like installments, like the installment payments, which is kind of like the quarterly taxes. Because we have it like if you make a ton of money 1 year, you don't have to pay like the quarterly taxes. But if you make it 2 years in a row and you have like a huge tax bill 2 years in a row, then they're going to penalize you.
Yeah, in America, you have to like guess and pay estimated quarterly taxes. So you have to like, and it's so complex.
Great system.
It's stupid. And like so I made this money tutoring. I was like, oh, my bank account's looking nice. And then I did my quarterly taxes, and then I sent like $1,200 to the IRS. So I had to like create an account, have them debit my account, and send the money. Because if they don't, they're going to penalize you.
I saw somewhere that this guy was back paid by the IRS by accident, and he's a lawyer, so he knows what he's doing. He's just like, and he's been trying to give the money back to the IRS, and they won't take it. And he knows if he doesn't give this money back, he's just going to face these ridiculous, problems with the IRS, and they will not take the money back.
And that's weird. Usually they take your money. If they can get it, they'll take it.
Well, no, but he's called the phone. Like I saw it where he called up the number, the customer service line. And then, his accountant was like, his own personal accountant was like, yeah, they should not have given you that money. So it's kind of like in the military when you don't turn off your hazard duty pay for when you're, and he's just hoarding all this money until the IRS realizes like, hey, we made a mistake. But that's
Dogecoin, man.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. In the meantime, just make some money off of it,
No, but that's the kind of system we have here in the United States. It's ridiculous. I mean,
I don't in any way understand why they won't take it back.
Well, it's because they don't know what they don't. It's kind of like the SEC, I think, where they don't know what the IRS is not exactly known for its what's the word I'm looking for?
Yeah, it's one that doesn't cause one that doesn't cause the IRS agents to come bursting through your door right now.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, that's the thing. Yes, DEA, FBI, no, tax man's coming. They're going to get their money, man.
Yeah, so, Mr. Bell, we heard you underpaid your taxes by $5 last year.
Well, no,
a lot of criminals too.
I think they do surprise audits over anything over 500,000. I think that's kind of what there's a threshold to this, unless you're the unlucky person who the six people making under 40,000 a year.
I'm so afraid of the IRS. When I was going to school and not working and living off the GI Bill, I filed taxes.
It's better play it safe. I mean, I think that's really what you're looking for. It's just you file it.
Yeah, dude. So I hope if there's ever any question, which this wouldn't be taken into account. Hey, man, I'm this honest. I was filing when I wasn't making any money.
If you make under a certain amount, you don't have to file a tax return. So if you make like nothing, the only way you would need, or the only reason you would need to file a tax return would be to get a refund if they somehow took, some money out of like maybe one paycheck you got that year. But you don't necessarily have to file a tax return.
I'm staying on their good side, bro.
but how many Americans actually file their income taxes? I think it was it's less than 50%.
Oh no, so that's who actually pays. But most people, if you make over 24,800 and you're married, filing jointly, you're going to have to file it and pay taxes. But what happens is they get like the child tax credit and all that crap, and that reduces their tax liability to zero or negative. So that's what they mean by most Americans don't pay taxes. And I actually think like once I have a couple kids with the tax credit they're trying to roll out, I might not be a taxpayer anymore. $3,600 a year per child. Imagine if you had 3 kids. Like holy.
Now if you had 16 kids,
dude,
just living tax write-offs.
I know.
You know what though? I'll keep the $1 million that I would have spent on that kid.
Well, the key is you only feed them pasta and you don't buy them anything except Goodwill.
Crock-pot, man. Crock-pot's the way to raise a family on a budget. I mean, if it can keep a single guy alive, it can keep kids alive. So I mean, that's
dude. There's no food. Guess you better learn to hunt.
Yeah, there's actually so I have this pond in front of my house, so there's like ducks and geese that hang out there. I'm like, yeah, go kill a geese, go kill a duck and go fry it. Whatever you got to do to eat.
Yeah, until Fish and Game shows up and you've killed one of those Canadian geese. Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah, good luck taking on one of those Canadian geese too.
Yeah, speaking of Canadian geese, they're a pain in the ass. They crap all in front of my yard. There's like crap everywhere on our driveway.
Dude, they're insane. So the school I went to, like the university, is notorious for having the most aggressive Canadian geese ever. It's actually mind-boggling because you'll just be walking along the street and they'll just randomly attack you for no reason. They'll actually attack you. Like, they won't just look at you and walk towards you. They will actually grab you. Like I've had to run away from geese before.
Oh, I've had to run away from them too. Western New York.
They're federally protected assholes, man.
I mean, can they actually hurt you though? Like, what are they going to do?
They bite. Yeah, they bite.
Yeah.
They bite you. Like so many people get bitten by Canadian geese at my school. Like I don't know why. It's just notorious for that, and it's just at like the school. Like you go anywhere else and they're fine. Like they just walk around. They leave you alone.
Yeah, I mean they're pretty nice. I mean they crap everywhere, but here like we have neighbors that feed them, so they just they walk up to you like, "Oh, you gonna give me some food?" And then you don't have any food, they walk away. It's like, all right,
yeah.
bye.
Hey,
they're gonna get emboldened. They're gonna start mugging people.
Hey, so I last night I wanted to, since we've talked about cars before, last night my buddy, we went out to go get something to eat, and he's a huge car guy. So we drive past this the Audi SUV, and he goes, "That's $120,000 car, man." And I'm like, and I look at that thing, I'm like, that thing's $120,000. And I just wanted to say, like, do you think that somebody who's driving a $120,000 car paid cash for that, or do you think they're kind of just leverage to the hills? I mean, this was 4 blocks away from my place, and I'm just like, what the hell are you trying to prove with a $120,000 SUV?
It's probably somebody that makes a decent amount of money, but nowhere near enough to justify.
I mean, it could be leased too. I mean, that's
okay. I never thought about that. So if you're going to be stupid, is it just better to lease?
I'd say if you're the kind of person that needs a new car all the time, you have to have one. Yeah, just
And my thing is this: like, if you want to drive a fancy car, go to the track for a day.
No, it's
just. I mean, I'm looking for a vehicle because my lease is ending out here, and I was looking at this saucy little Chevy Colorado for like $9,000.
Nah, man, you got to go big or go home. You got to get a Maserati. You got to
get an F350. Come on,
got to get a Ford Raptor, $50,000 Ford Raptor, man.
Get an 18-wheeler. Get an 18-wheeler.
Tesla Cybertruck. Come on.
Yeah, Jay, tell us about how do you feel about the Cybertruck? I know you're very.
I'll say the same thing I said last week. The Tesla Cybertruck looks like Elon Musk stopped a short bus and had them design it.
But if you get shot, at least you're safe, right?
Yeah, when he threw the
risk of getting shot.
No,
like I would sit there with Elon Musk and be like, "What were you thinking? How did you not slap the person across the face that came up with this design aesthetic?"
I'm going to take a look at this. I've never seen this.
Maybe he was smoking weed. He's notorious, I guess, for getting high.
No, apparently, they were testing it before like the demonstration, and they were like hitting it with like sledgehammers, like the same window they threw like the stone at. So then when they did it, the real thing, the stone actually broke through.
Yeah,
they like weakened the window, and then okay.
The integrity.
So it's kind of like the president's bus, like the president of the United States. They have a bus for him. It's kind of like that.
Do they?
Yeah, they do. Like Obama.
I know those limousines are beasts, man. Those things are tanks.
Truck.
Let's see Drew's
this thing is hideous. This thing is hideous, man.
I actually like it. I would get it if I had like multi-million dollars sitting around.
Back to the Future. It's
they made a Hot Wheels model of the Tesla Cybertruck, and they made it with like the broken window.
That's this is how much disdain I have for the Cybertruck. If I had Joe Rogan's money, I would buy one of those just to drive it into a tree.
It would probably break the tree, Jay.
Did you hear? Right through it.
Did you hear that Biden got mad at him because he said that young people shouldn't get the vaccine, and then the White House came out saying that was very irresponsible of Joe Rogan to say that.
Oh yeah, I saw that, and then I defended Rogan on my podcast. I'm like, Rogan says at least once an episode, "I'm a moron and you shouldn't take my advice."
He's a comedian.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, I don't understand why people get mad at him for what he says, but also he had a legit point that if you're young and healthy and you work out, maybe leave the vaccine.
99% survival rate.
Yeah.
Was he saying like you shouldn't get it, or was he saying young people don't need it?
He said pretty close to this. He said, if I was talking to a guy who's young, 20, 21 years old, works out, is healthy, gets the proper amount of rest, if he asked me, do you think I should take the vaccine? Rogan said, I'd tell him no.
Okay, so he's not like
he gave his
saying,
opinion.
like, if you're healthy, you probably don't need it. He's not necessarily like advocating to not get it.
No, he didn't really take a stance on it. He was just like, yeah, I'd give him like, hey, 50-50. Yeah, it's kind of like it's up in the air. But I was shocked. I'm like, the White House released a statement saying it was irresponsible for a comedian to say something like that.
Well, that means you're a big deal if the White House is, publishing a statement about you because you said something.
Well, his influence is insane. Like the amount of people that listen to him and the amount of time people spend listening to him is ridiculous.
Oh, dude, that's pretty much what I listen to at work.
You need to get Trudeau on. He needs to get your boy on his podcast.
I'm predicting that eventually it will be almost impossible to get elected to office without going on some form of podcast.
Oh, absolutely.
Because you can't be dishonest over 3 hours with Rogan. Like Hillary Clinton and Kamala Harris would fall apart. When Rogan's like, wait, Jamie, pull that shit up. Because I don't think that's right.
I think Rogan is so scared to have Trump on. I think they flirted with the idea. I think he's so scared.
I think that interview would be a disaster, and it would be the greatest thing that
I don't think it would be a disaster. I think it would be entertaining.
I would buy that I would pay for the NFT if they made one. I would get enough money together. I would buy
pay-per-view. I would go pay-per-view on that episode.
I'll tell you what, when he interviewed Bernie Sanders, I felt that was a disaster. I was like, he goes, and that's the whole thing about Bernie, though. It's like, well, he's such a nice old man. And I'm like, he's a socialist maniac.
Yeah, I saw that, too. And he's talking about guns and shit. And I'm like, Bernie, I'm not giving you my guns. It's not happening. I lost them.
We just got to tax people. We got to make college free. It's like all this free stuff. What's the saying by Peter Schiff? He goes, you think college is expensive now? Wait until it's free. That's absolutely right.
Well, it's robbing Peter to pay Paul is all it is. And, that's actually how I became a fan of I don't really like politicians, but how I came to at least appreciate Tulsi Gabbard's opinions, because I don't agree with a lot of them, but she's actually reasonable in what her thought process.
Oh, totally is.
And why I like Dan Crenshaw, because he just goes on there and he just tells you how it is, man. He's a Navy SEAL. You can't be full of shit and be a Navy SEAL.
Well, hopefully his health is. I heard that he's having trouble with his other eye, so hopefully he's going to be all right. But yeah, I like Dan. I don't know. It's getting to be too insane. Like when you hear about somebody who comes out against a guy for giving his opinion on his podcast, that's insane to me. Like the White House.
Something that I vehemently disagree with is a kid in a college class, I don't know if you saw it, defended the cops. And the professor started getting upset. Yeah. She said some negative things about the police, and they're putting her on leave. And I'm going, I don't think that should happen. She's entitled to her opinion, whether I like it or not.
Yeah.
I don't think she should lose her job because she happens to hold an opinion I completely disagree with. When she's saying, I'm safer without the cops around if somebody's coming to my house. And I'm like, no, you're not. Sorry. Most cops are good, whether you want to hear it or not. And I'm saying whatever the number is, it's probably high 90s are good people. So,
I mean, hey, I'm all for free speech as long as you don't criticize Walmart. That's the one thing.
I mean, that is the big. I don't know.
If I was able to cancel somebody, it'd be for criticizing Walmart stock.
I'm against criticizing President Xi and Vladimir only because I want to remain alive.
Well,
Putin's cracking jokes about me. He's like,
could you imagine if the Chinese government had us killed? in our small camp. We criticize them.
Could you imagine Vladimir Putin saying something about him and he's just cracking jokes at a press conference about the fact that I died from polonium poisoning and wonder how that happened?
No, I bet you the Chinese made this freaking bear behind me. It'd be funny if it was like a
Where did you get that thing at? Did you buy that? Did you buy that? Win that at like a carnival or something?
No, so my wife's cousin, she's just had it forever. We were over at their place, and I was like, "Hey, do you want that?" And she's like, "No, I want to get rid of it." So I was like, "I'll take it." So I had to like stuff it in the back of my Ford Fiesta. I was like kicking it to get it in the car. But like, I've always wanted like a big fluff bear. It's like a great gaming seat.
Dude, it is cool. It's like also where I'm getting spied on is the Baby Yoda I bought. As soon as Chi's name was mentioned, Disney's got a chip in there, it lit up, recording. I'm gonna be sitting there with Jack Ma, like, dude, how the fuck did I got ethered or something and ended up in China? You're here to get re-educated. Oh, all right.
I don't know, man. All you can do is just focus on yourself. Just turn off the news and just keep on trucking.
Yeah, dude, I got a new joke I got to test out. I don't know how I want to word it, but it's basically about me saying, "Yeah, I only buy Nike clothes because I support genocide."
You're gonna get canceled, bro.
A mic got blown up here. A dude said on the mic, he goes, "I understand why I'm not allowed to say the N-word, but can I at least have faggot and retard back?" And a social justice warrior went charging up there and recording. So I'm preparing material now. So for some of my jokes, I go, "Oh, you think that's offensive? Have you ever heard Dice Clay's poems?"
Dice Clay was in the 80s, yeah. I don't know, man. Got to be careful now.
Wait, so the comedian got tackled, or somebody just
she walked up and just started. "You can't say that. That's offensive." The guy who runs the open mic had to walk up to her and goes, "I'm gay and I have autism. It's not offensive to gay people." He's like, "I'm a gay retard. You're getting offended on behalf of a group you don't belong to. It's not offensive." She argued with him that he needed to check his privilege.
Oh.
I
don't know. I think being a comedian is just the same as being a cop nowadays. It's why would you want to walk those waters? But I commend you. I think you're strong and brave for doing it. It's too
much fun, man. The juice you get from going up. Like, I wrote this down, said it. It was semi-funny. I went back, reworked it, got a bigger laugh. Went back. Okay, now this joke is killing. There's just,
I don't know, but George Carlin has predicted everything. Everything.
Oh yeah.
Everything.
We talked about this. If you go back to his 2008 or 2007 special, it's actually more relevant now than it was then.
Oh, yeah, about Americans? Absolutely.
Yeah, what he's talking about with your cell phones that makes pancakes and rubs your balls.
Well, guys, I got to get going because I got to finish up some stuff, but I just wanted to check in and say hi.
Thanks for coming on, buddy. I'm actually getting tired too. So
yeah, I was going to say it's a good time to call it. Anyway.
2 hours. Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, I know.
I got to find my next YOLO stock and do it.
You're going to be famous one day, Chris. I mean, it's going to happen.
Maybe when I'm like 90 and then I die the next day.
Yeah. All right, guys. I'll see you.
All right. Nice to meet you, man.
Nice meeting you. Have a good night.
And if anybody's watching, subscribe to these guys' channels, please. Okay, Investing Sucks. That's Jack Bogle's son. And Jay Nagy. I know it's hard to click a red button. Okay, it's very, very hard.
Yeah.
Tune in for my YOLO videos.
All right, guys. I'll see you later.
All right.
All right.